My name is Nora Calloway. I am 34 years old. And 3 weeks ago, a woman I had never seen before knocked my apartment door at 8:47 in the morning, handed me a business card, and said, "Your grandmother asked me to find you 15 years ago. It took me this long because your parents made sure I couldn't." I stood in my doorway for 11 seconds. Then I let her in. What she pulled out of her briefcase that morning, a brown leather one, worn at the corners, the kind that has been opened in 1,000 offices, changed everything I thought I knew about the 15 years my family had spent pretending I did not exist. But before I tell you what was in that briefcase, I need to take you back. To a Tuesday night when I was 19 years old. To a dining room table in Carver, Kentucky. To the night my parents told me I had been removed from the will, and the night I understood that in my family, love had always come with conditions attached. If you are watching this right now, drop your city in the comments. Just your city. I read every one. And if you have ever been cut out by people who were supposed to protect you, like this video. Now. Back to Carver. I grew up in a small town in eastern Kentucky. My parents, Harold and Diane Calloway, had 2 children. My older brother Garrett and me. Garrett was the one they built their hopes around. Tall, easy, the kind of son who showed up to things without being asked and never questioned the rules out loud. My father coached his baseball team for 6 years. My mother kept every trophy he won on a shelf in the living room, 14 trophies, dusted every Saturday. I was the one who asked too many questions. Not rebellious. Just curious. Uncomfortable with things that didn't make sense. I pushed back at dinner tables. I chose books over baseball games. I told my father at 16 that I wanted to study environmental science, and he said, "That is not a real career, Nora. Pick something practical." I picked environmental science anyway. Full scholarship. University of Kentucky. I was the first Calloway to leave the county for college. My grandmother, my father's mother, Eleanor Calloway, was the only one who celebrated. She was 71. Sharp, silver-haired, the kind of woman who read the newspaper every morning with a red pen and circled things she disagreed with. She drove 2 hours to campus on my first day, helped me hang curtains in my dorm room, and said, "Don't let anyone tell you what you're capable of. Especially people who are afraid of the answer." I called her every Sunday for 3 years. She was the first person I told when I got my research internship. The first person I told when my paper was accepted for a regional conference. The first person I told about everything that mattered. The night everything changed, I was 19. Home for Thanksgiving break. My parents waited until after dinner, until the plates were cleared and the kitchen was quiet and Garrett had gone to his room. Then my father sat down across from me and folded his hands on the table. "We need to talk about the will." I had not known there was a will to discuss. "Your grandmother's estate," he said. "There is land. Property in the eastern part of the county. It has been in the family since 1962. We have made a decision." My mother was looking at the table. "You have been removed as a beneficiary," my father said. "The estate will pass to Garrett." I looked at him. "Why?" "Because Garrett is staying," he said. "He is building his life here. You chose to leave. People who leave don't inherit land." I sat with that for a long time. "I left for college," I said. "You left," my father said. "Final." The way he said everything final. I drove back to campus that Sunday. I did not call home for 3 weeks. When I called my grandmother, she picked up on the first ring and said, "I know. I heard. Nora, I need you to listen to me very carefully." She told me she had a plan. She could not tell me the details yet. She said, "Trust me. Keep your records. Keep everything. And do not let them see that you know." I asked what she meant. I mean, she said, that I have been preparing for this moment for longer than they know. And when the time comes, you will understand everything. She died 14 months later. Quietly. In her own house. I was not told until 2 days after the funeral. My father called on a Wednesday. His voice was flat. Careful. Your grandmother passed Monday, he said. The service was yesterday. It was private. Family only. I held the phone for a long time. I am family, I said. You chose your path, he said. We chose ours. He hung up before I did. I sat in my campus apartment with my phone in my lap and the particular silence of someone who has just been told they do not count. I had known this was possible. My grandmother had warned me. But knowing something is possible and hearing it confirmed are two different weights entirely. I did not cry. I had learned by then that crying was a tax I could not afford to keep paying on people who had already decided my value. I called my grandmother's number out of habit. It rang 4 times. Then her voicemail. Her voice, steady and specific, saying she was unavailable and to leave a message. I left one. I do not remember exactly what I said. Something about missing her. Something about wishing I had driven down the weekend before when I had thought about it and talked myself out of it. I kept that voicemail for 11 years. Then I did what my grandmother had told me to do. I kept my records. I documented everything. Every call my parents did not return. Every family event I was excluded from. Every piece of evidence that the Calloway family had erased their youngest member not because she had done something wrong but because she had done something inconvenient. I graduated. Got a research position. Then a second one. By 26 I was leading environmental impact assessments for a consulting firm in Cincinnati. By 29 I had published 3 papers in peer-reviewed journals. By 32 I had been named to a regional environmental council that advised state policy. My family did not know. I had stopped telling them at 21 when I mentioned my first publication at Christmas and my father said, "Is that the kind of thing that pays?" I built my career in silence. Not because I was hiding. Because I had learned that sharing accomplishments with people who had decided your ceiling was the same as handing someone ammunition they had not earned. My brother Garrett called occasionally. Not often. He had stayed in Carver, taken over the family hardware business, married a woman named Beth who I had met twice. He was not cruel. He was simply a man who had accepted the family's version of events because it cost him nothing to do so. The last time he called, 6 months before the woman with the briefcase knocked my door, he said, "Mom and Dad are asking about you. You should call them." "They have my number," I said. Nora. Garrett. They told me about the funeral 2 days after it happened. They removed me from Grandma's will without telling me. They have my number. Silence. "I didn't know about the will," he said finally. "I know," I said. "That is exactly the problem." I hung up. Added the call to the document I had been keeping for 15 years. Date. Summary. Outcome. Then, 3 weeks ago, the knock came. Her name was Patricia Hale. She was 63. Brown blazer. Reading glasses on a chain. The worn leather briefcase I would later learn had been sitting in her office for 11 years waiting for the right moment. She sat at my kitchen table. She poured nothing. I offered coffee and she declined because she said she needed to say what she had come to say before anything else. "Your grandmother came to me 19 years ago," she said. "When you were 15. She told me she was concerned about what would happen to certain assets after she was gone. Specifically, she was concerned about whether those assets would reach you." I looked at her. "She came back 7 more times over the next 4 years," Patricia said. "The last time was 6 weeks before she died. She gave me specific instructions. I was to find you. I was not to contact your parents. And I was to wait until you were 34. Why 34? I said. Patricia opened the briefcase. She set a folder on the table. Then an envelope, small, cream-colored, my name in my grandmother's handwriting. She said, and I am reading directly, by 34 she will have built something real without them. She will know who she is. And she will know exactly what to do with what I am leaving her. I looked at the envelope for a long time. What was my father keeping from me? I said. Patricia opened the folder. The property my father had described as passing to Garrett, 71 acres in eastern Kentucky, family land since 1962, had been quietly subdivided by my grandmother in 2003. 43 acres transferred to a separate trust. The trust she had established for me. Irrevocable. My name is sole beneficiary. My father had inherited 28 acres. Garrett had inherited nothing related to the trust. The 43 acres had been assessed 6 months ago. Patricia slid a single page across the table. Current market value, $287,000. I read the number twice. Set the page down carefully. She kept it separate, I said. From the day she subdivided it, Patricia said. She told me your father would sell anything he got his hands on within a year. She said, the land should go to the one who understands what things are worth keeping. I looked at the cream envelope with my name on it. Why did it take you this long to find me? I said. Patricia's expression shifted. Something careful came into it. Because your parents told everyone in Carver that you had cut off the family, she said. That you had changed your name. That you had made clear you wanted no contact. It took me 4 years to find someone who knew where you actually were. The kitchen was very quiet. They told people I changed my name, I said. Yes, Patricia said. They were very consistent about it. I looked at the folder on my kitchen table. Then at the envelope. Then at the window where the morning light was doing the thing it does in October, gold and slightly reluctant. Open the envelope, Patricia said gently. She wrote it for you. I opened the envelope on a Wednesday morning. Not the day Patricia left. Not the morning after. I needed 48 hours between the information and the reading. My grandmother would have understood that. She was a woman who believed that the right moment for a thing was not always the first available moment. Wednesday. Coffee. October light. My kitchen table. I broke the seal. 2 pages. Her handwriting. Red pen, the same pen she used to circle things in the newspaper she disagreed with. Every word chosen with the precision of someone who knew this was the last thing she would ever say to me and wanted it to carry the weight of everything she hadn't said in person. She wrote about the land first. About walking it every October morning since she was a girl. About the creek on the eastern boundary that ran cold even in summer. About what it meant to hold something for 60 years without selling it. She wrote, I kept records too, Nora. Everything your father told me. Every conversation where he made clear what he intended to do. I kept it all. Not out of anger. Out of love for you. Because I knew that someday you would need to know that someone had been paying attention. She wrote about the night she first came to Patricia. 2003, I was 15. She had watched me at a family dinner push back on something my father said, something small, something about college being impractical, and she had seen the look on his face when I pushed back and she had known then what was coming. I did not tell you, she wrote, because knowing would have changed the way you carried yourself. And I needed you to walk into that family with your head up. I needed them to see who you were becoming without the weight of my worry on your shoulders. She wrote about the Sunday phone calls. About listening to me describe my work, my research, my papers. About writing down every title and looking them up on her computer. I printed them, she wrote. Everyone. They are in a box in Patricia's office. She will give them to you. I wanted you to know that someone read every word. I set the letter down. Picked it up. Read that paragraph again. She had printed them. Every paper. Every publication. Sitting in a box in an attorney's office for 11 years. I sat at my kitchen table for 26 minutes without moving. Then I called Patricia. The box, I said. She mentioned a box. I have it, Patricia said. I will bring it whenever you are ready. My father called 2 weeks after Patricia's visit. I do not know how he found out. My best guess is that the land registry updated and someone in Carver noticed. His voice was the controlled version. The one he used when he had already decided how a conversation would go. I heard you spoke to an attorney, he said. Yes, I said. Whatever your grandmother thought she was doing. Dad. He stopped. She subdivided the property in 2003, I said. She established an irrevocable trust. She named me as sole beneficiary. She did it legally, properly, and with full documentation. There is nothing to discuss about the structure. Silence. You are not supposed to know, he said. Not angry. Something quieter. The voice of a man who has just realized the plan he thought was working has not been working for 20 years. She made sure I would know, I said. That was the whole point. After everything we did for you. You told people I changed my name, I said. You told Carver I had cut off the family. You did not tell me about my grandmother's funeral until 2 days after it happened. I have documentation of all of it. He had no answer. I am not calling to fight, I said. I am calling because you are my father and you deserve to hear this from me directly. The land is mine. Legally. Finally. And I intend to keep it. I said goodbye. Hung up. Sat at my kitchen table for a long time. My brother called 4 days later. Not brief this time, he sounded like he had been sitting with something alone and had finally decided to say it. I didn't know about the will, he said. The real one. I didn't know what they told people about you. I know, I said. That's not an excuse, he said. I should have asked more questions. It was the most honest thing my brother had ever said to me. Yes, I said. You should have. Is it too late to start? He said. I looked at the October light on my kitchen table. At the cream envelope. At Patricia's card next to my coffee cup. No, I said. But we start slow. I drove to Carver on a Saturday in November. Not to see my parents. Not yet. Not for a long time, maybe. I drove to see the land. Patricia had given me the coordinates. I parked at the edge of a county road and walked in through a gate that had not been opened in years, the lock stiff, the hinges resistant, the whole thing suggesting a long patience. 43 acres. Old hardwood forest, oak and hickory. A creek on the eastern boundary, cold even in November, running over smooth stones in a way that sounded like the world thinking. A ridge on the northern edge where the trees opened and you could see for miles. I stood on that ridge for a long time. I thought about a woman who had walked the same ground every October morning for 60 years. Who had sat in an attorney's office in 2003 and said, "My granddaughter is 15 and she does not know it yet, but she is going to need this land and I am going to make sure it is waiting for her." I thought about the box of printed papers. Every research publication. Every journal article. Read and printed and kept by a woman who had never once stopped paying attention. I thought about red pen circles in a newspaper. Sunday phone calls. A voice on a voicemail I had saved for 11 years. My grandmother did not fight my parents. She did not confront them. She did not announce what she was doing or warn them what was coming. She simply prepared. Quietly. Precisely. For 19 years. She kept the receipts and she kept the land and she found an attorney she trusted and she waited for me to be ready. And then she sent Patricia to my door on a Tuesday morning with a worn leather briefcase and 2 pages written in red pen and a box full of proof that someone had been reading every word. My name is Nora Calloway. I am 34 years old. My parents removed me from the will at 19. They told my town I had changed my name. They did not tell me about my grandmother's funeral until it was over. My grandmother knew all of it. She prepared for all of it. And she made sure that by the time I was 34, old enough and built enough and ready enough, everything she had meant to give me would be waiting. Not revenge. Not a confrontation. Just land. And a letter. And a box of printed papers that proved someone had been paying attention every single day. I placed a conservation easement on the 43 acres in December. The land is protected. The creek runs cold. The ridge is clear. Every October I go back and walk the eastern boundary. She walked it first. For 60 years. Now I walk it. That is enough. That is everything. If you have been written out of something that was meant for you, leave one word in the comments. Just one. I read every single one. Subscribe. The next story is already waiting.